The Life Center for Independent Living estimates that 1 in 5 Americans suffer from some form of disability. Despite the enormous size of America's disabled population, this community is still treated as second-class citizens. In addition to dealing with discrimination on a daily basis, they are not given proper representation in important issues such as education, civil rights, and healthcare, and do not have adequate accommodations in public spaces. The disability rights movement, previously called the Independent Living Movement, has been rapidly developing and progressing since its start in the 1960s. Some of the key outcomes of this relatively unnoticed movement include the passing of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 1975, and the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. In addition to structural challenges, disabled Americans are also subject to extreme prejudice due to their disabilities. One such example comes from an Alabama man named Jerry, a 53-year-old father and partial paraplegic. During an interview, Jerry claims that while waiting in line at a courthouse, an attendant asked, "Who are you with?" instead of, "What can I help you with?" Disabled Americans are often assumed to be dependent on others and expected to be less capable of completing tasks that do not relate to their disability. Jerry claims, "I will adapt, just make it so I can adapt." In order for disabled Americans to achieve the changes they need, their community needs to support them and put forth the effort necessary to bring about change. Disability rights are not just an issue in the United States. Living with a disability in developing countries is even more challenging due to the lack of government support and harsher discrimination. Some of the magnified risks for people with disabilities in developing countries include lack of education, increased likelihood of physical or sexual abuse, discrimination, higher mortality rates, and higher unemployment. For example, China and India both encourage education for disabled children, but do not provide the specialized education necessary to properly teach them. There are many documented cases of disability rights abuses outside of the United States. One such case involves an anonymous woman nicknamed Anna, who was forced into guardianship by the state of Croatia. Under this guardianship, she had no right to make her own decisions. Anna spent over half of her life in a psychiatric hospital called Lopaka, where she was denied her freedom and deprived of her basic human rights. She experienced horrendous physical and verbal abuse by the nurses and staff of the facility. Many similar accounts have since surfaced by patients of other Croatian facilities. Croatia has since passed the Family Act, which banishes the full guardianship that strips people like Anna of their basic rights. The disability rights movement has made tremendous progress since its creation. The United Nations and many other countries are making substantial efforts to help their disabled populations. However, in spite of the improving conditions, there's still a long way to go in the fight for disabled rights.